Sage Wanderer here, coming at you from my shotgun shack in the Texas Outback. And today I wanted to talk about what is going on with impeachment. What are the Democrats actually trying to do? So, I know we've heard this discussed over and over again. You can hear this discussed on Fox and CNN and MSNBC, and every radio talk show host is talking about this, and everybody on the internet is talking about this. But what I want to cover is, what are they really trying to do? What is this really all about? So here are the theories, okay? Now, I have to call them theories because you can't get a straight answer out of these Democrats. And often they don't even agree with themselves as it is, as to what it is they're trying to do, okay? With this impeachment inquiry. Now, one theory is they understand that they don't have the votes for impeachment in the Senate. And the Congress is going to go ahead and take an impeachment vote because they have the numbers, and everyone on the Democratic side, minus 2 people, voted for the inquiry. So I imagine they'll have a similar number who will vote for the actual impeachment of the president, regardless of the facts, regardless of, just based on the secret testimony and the word of Schiff and Pelosi, they're going to call for this impeachment of this president. Well, they are calling for it. They're going to draw up articles of impeachment, but probably more than one, and on more than one issue, as it were. Like, they may go back to Russia and pull something up, to the Russia hoax and the Mueller report. They may pull something from that, as well as this Ukraine thing, okay? And that they understand that they're not going to get the votes in the Senate to actually remove Donald Trump from office, which would mean this is a giant waste of time, right? If you're going to impeach in the House, but you realize that there's no way that the senators are going to back you over there on the other side, then, you're going to absolutely have to admit that it's just a giant waste of time. Unless there's an election pending. You see, the Democrats are pulling out all the stops. They're going to lie, cheat, steal, fabricate, do whatever they have to smear the president's name. This is the prevailing belief by Republicans in the mainstream, is that that's what impeachment is all about. They're just trying to smear the president. They're just trying to get enough of the half-listening voters to vote against him and for whatever candidate they put up there, just based on the fact that, this impeachment happened, so therefore if you're accused of something, you must be guilty of it. And if the House thought they were guilty, they won't care that the Senate doesn't take it up or that the Senate votes it down, okay? They're just going to vote against Donald Trump because Orange Man bad. And that's, I gotta say, that's a pretty solid theory. That's theory number 1. Theory number 2 is, and this is actually the stated story according to the left. This is what they're disseminating to people like Juan on the 5 over at Fox, bona fide liberal on staff over there at Fox News. He said just yesterday or the day before that it was his intention. He thought the intention was, and when he said he thought the intention was, I think this has been hands fed to him through the DNC to say this on Fox News to the public, that they hope that even though they didn't have the votes in the Senate right now, that once all of this information came to light and the uproar from the people, because it's going to be public now, it's going to be a public accusation and public can hear all the facts, and the public outcry will be so much to remove this president that Trump will either resign or the Senate will go ahead and the Republicans will cross the line and impeach the president and remove him from office through the Senate conviction, or because that would be the conviction. And look at it this way: impeachment in the House is like an indictment. Okay, just because you're indicted doesn't mean you're going to be found guilty. And then the actual trial happens in the Senate, which probably won't ever happen. But this is what Juan from the 5 on Fox was saying the other day. And I believe I've heard this from other reporters and from other politicians, and maybe it comes from a compilation of things that Nancy Pelosi herself has said. But they hope that the Senate will remove him from office if they impeach, which I think there's no way that's happening. If that happens, then the next scenario is probably what's really going on. Okay, so if it goes down like that, it's probably more related to the next theory. So here's the next theory that I'm just going to call the AJ theory. And this is the theory of some of the people who think there's more than meets the eye in this whole thing about what's going on. And I could put myself in that category, that I believe that this is really a masquerade covering up the fact that a coup is going on right now, a literal communist revolution to try to take Trump out of office, replace all of the judges that he appointed with liberal judges, and make Nancy Pelosi the president of the United States. That they want to take out Trump and Pence and undo the whole election, okay? And so what's the impeachment role in that? Well, we've already seen this kangaroo court, this communist under the Capitol building, under armed guards now. They got armed guards guarding these rooms where these depositions are being taken, right? And where the places where in these depositions, the witnesses are being led. If you ever watched Perry Mason, I object, leading the witness. You can't handle the truth. But no, they're not allowed to object. And so they're not allowed to ask questions. The Republicans aren't. And the Democrats are actually leading the witnesses, trying to provoke them and draw out the answers that they want them to say in the deposition. And all of this is being done in secret. Now, we've recently had a vote this week, and they voted right down party lines, with the exception of 2 Democrats who voted with the Republicans. But the rest of the Democrats in the House voted for the inquiry. So now it's official, and according to them, supposed to be above board and out in the open. But there are those that are saying that vote doesn't mean now that they're going to change anything, that now they have the vote to do the impeachment inquiry, and it's still going to be done in secret. It's still going to be witnesses are still going to be protected and their identities not revealed. The Republicans are still not going to be allowed to cross-examine the witnesses and ask questions of the witnesses in this environment. That remains to be seen, okay? But what role does impeachment play if there is a socialist communist coup revolution occurring, and they're trying to pull this off with our compliance through our lack of protest, I suppose? So what they hope to do is smear and Donald Trump, which they've been doing since, honestly, before he was elected. The government, the deep state. John Brennan was just actually in a panel where they were discussing, and they said, thank goodness for the deep state. They're acknowledging the fact that they've been running the government from behind the scenes for decades. And they're bringing this president to heel, and since they can't, they're going to take him out. Okay? And it's the deep state. This guy, this whistleblower, he's CIA, man. It's already out. He's CIA, okay? These people are the deep state. They are the intelligence community in our own government has taken over the government, honestly, since JFK. If you're a conspiracy theorist at all, you believe all these things just as I do. If that's the case, they don't intend to really do this legally. They want to make it look legal. They want to take this president out and make it look legal. But ultimately, they're going to bypass the Senate. They're going to just convict him in this kangaroo court and have him and his people arrested. And honestly, unless people are ready to cross over the line and become revolutionaries, most Americans will sit back and let them do it. They'll let them break the law. They've already been doing it. We'll sit back and let them make false accusations. We'll sit back and let them convict him without proper due process, and just remove him and Pence from office and inaugurate Nancy Pelosi, and everybody will be screaming and complaining about it, but no one will actually do anything. That's my biggest fear, that we'll just sit here and watch it on TV and go, okay, I guess we got President Pelosi now. A lot of people are not willing to risk their cushy existence to fight back against this kind of blatant open tyranny. It's just an excuse for a coup. So those are the 3 theories. Are they impeaching because they think that they have the evidence and Senate will see that and Republicans will agree with them? We'll all sing Kumbaya as Trump is hauled off to jail? Or are they impeaching just to smear the president in an election, to hope that the sheep will not see through the accusations and just think Orange Man bad, and therefore they'll get the stupid vote of the ignorant folk? Could that be the intention pretty simple political dirty tricks, really. It ought to be illegal for someone to behave that way. That's an abuse of power. It should be dealt with. If that's what they're doing, if it's just a smear campaign, this is the grossest misuse of power that I've ever seen or heard of. And I'm an armchair historian, right? I live on the History Channel and documentaries, and that's how I got to this channel. Is that I learned so much about history. I like to share weird things with the people on this channel. And I got to tell you, I have never seen or heard of anything similar to this. This kind of attack against the president is really unprecedented. And, if they're doing this just to smear the president's name and there's nothing to the accusations and it's just a great big political campaign, then they have wasted their time as congressmen and congresswomen. The congressional districts that elected these people to office should be furious for the time they've wasted. If the Senate doesn't even hear it and it's just a pig in a poke and they never had a chance of accomplishing anything but to discredit this president, that ought to be illegal. That ought to be some kind of ethical oversight. At the very least, the congressional districts that elected these people ought to recall them and or vote them out of office. You can't impeach a congressman. Their district has to recall them and go, oh, it was a bad choice. Come back. We don't want you anymore. The people of the district have to do that. So if you live in a district where one of these impeachers are, I would start that process right now, trying to recall them on the basis of them wasting 2 years of our time chasing this president on an impeachment just because they don't like him, just because they lost. Now, the third theory is the scariest of all. What are we going to do if they just illegally and openly remove him, arrest him and Pence, do a bunch of unconstitutional, illegal stuff with the deep state, FBI, CIA backing them up? Are the U.S. Marshals going to stand by and let them do this? That's a big question I have. How true to the constitutional nature of the U.S. Marshals are the current U.S. Marshals running the program? Are they going to let the president be arrested without due process? What about the Secret Service? Are they going to turn the president over? What about Trump's personal security that has been working with the Secret Service? Is there going to be a shootout in the White House if they try to arrest this president? I mean, right now, any of these scenarios are possible. And I think that if they vote to impeach the President of the United States and send this to the Senate, it better be based on something real, because there's an argument that this might just be a smear campaign to try to win over the ignorant vote of the uninformed based on the concept, orange man bad. God save our republic. We need you more than ever.